Hey everybody, it's China V, and this is The Markup. On today's episode, I'm excited that it's just me having this conversation with you guys. So today we are diving into a topic that has been coming up for me a lot lately, and also a topic that is very important to everybody that's an aesthetic provider, a business owner, and even clients that can come across this in their day to day. It's basically knowing your worth, owning your value, and how to navigate that in the industry that does not make it easy. So, I think that over the course of my career, I found it very difficult to kind of find my place. And early on, as as a nurse practitioner, you're kind of like brought up in this environment, at least I was, where you have to prove yourself. You prove your credibility. You have to prove that you know what you're doing to surgeons, to doctors, for them to trust you, even to your clients, so that they can trust you. And it kind of harbors this feeling or energy of like, am I really worth it? Can I really do the things that I'm doing? Particularly for me, it's been a journey of going from, hospital practice to private practice, then kind of out on my own and running a business, and then to corporate, which, I feel like again, it just keeps coming up for me, this like proving my value, proving my worth, like getting other people to see my value has been really a struggle along the way. So defining your worth, right? What is worth in aesthetics? How is that calculated? It's not just the price tag, because a lot of times you're going to get people that are going to be like, that's how much? I'm not paying that, or I don't have money for that, right? But your value is your personality, your education, what you put into it, your skill set, your experience, your outcomes, how your patient experiences are, and your energy that you put into it. All of these things are worth something in aesthetics and in real life. One thing that comes up for me a lot, and I'm being quite vulnerable here, is imposter syndrome, because aesthetics industry, plastic surgery industry, the beauty industry is a comparison culture. It's like keeping up with the Joneses. What is everybody doing? Where you're seeking your validation sometimes in silos by like what other people are doing, keeping up with the trends. Like, do I know this person? Do I have enough Instagram followers? It's really not the full answer. So I fell into this trap a lot where I was like, oh my God, so and so is doing this on social media. There's Patreon. There's this, like, you're not in the know unless you hang out with these people or like have taken these courses. And I spent a lot of years kind of trying to go and do what other people were doing. Like, oh, let me go to that training course. Let me go to this conference. Let me, do the trends on social media. And I recently took a hard stop to that. And I looked at myself, and now, because my time is so limited, I have a large following, I have a family. So it's now become like, well, where do I see the most value? Is this training or conference worth my time away, or the energy and the money that it really is to take these courses? So it's really not just what everyone else is doing. I found that the best way for me to stay authentic was to just not look to the left or to the right and what everybody else is doing, is just like really set myself a set of goals and just keep looking forward at that goals for me. That's really how I was able to corral my courage and my confidence and be like, it doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. I'm busy doing the things that I love to do, and I just focus on being a little bit better each day, even with this, even with the podcast. Like, I came from like a great idea. I brought it to corporate. Hey, this is a podcast I think would be cool to talk about aesthetics and kind of like the background of what's going on. And, I was told that there wasn't a lot of value in doing it that way. So I didn't care. I just say, okay, cool, not for you, but it's for me. So I'm going to keep going. And look at me now. I'm in the world of digital creation, which I am not tech savvy, but I'm learning. And each time I film one of these podcasts, it's like, well, what can I do just a little bit better to make it a little bit better? Um, whether that's using editing tools or like just my setup. Like even for this episode, I really tried to get all the high tech things to work. And here we are recording from my phone. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'm just trying to get my point across, my value out there, which is, I think that some of this information of things that I run into can be valuable for somebody else that's trying to go into aesthetics or navigating our world. So the industry can really like shake your confidence. And I've come across this many, many times. It's like discount culture, right? There are med spas popping up left and right. Who's giving what discounts? Who's charging, you know, X amount per unit of Botox? Like I said, I really, to navigate through this, I had to keep looking forward and not caring what anybody else is doing. And I go into a lot of different offices each week when I train, so I see a lot of different dynamics and a lot of different, things that people do. And some is really cool, but some, especially like some of the corporate models, are really difficult to navigate through. And, for me, I think coming from private practice, then to running my own practice into a corporate setting has been very challenging. And knowing your worth has been totally life changing and so important because in a larger setting, there's toxic work environments. There are people that maybe don't know what you're doing and don't appreciate what you're doing. And so a lot of the times too, like leadership is so above your day to day. And by above, I don't mean that they're superior. I mean, they're just kind of like doing this oversight of so many things that your silo may not be of importance to them. And then if you get enough of that, it can really, that filters down to you. It can really suppress your confidence and make you believe a narrative that somebody else is trying to create for you. And so sometimes that's just translation of they're trying to get you to fit a mold, which for me as an individual has been very difficult. So I really try to navigate that by having a lot of integrity and truth and sticking to my core personality and just keeping the patients at the forefront of importance. So, my goal in being successful is really not monetary. It's not fame. It's not like being known as the best lip injector or the best cheek injector. My overall results and the happiness of my patients is what keeps me going. So if I can give the best result that's non-surgical, that's what kind of keeps me going. And it's not chasing the next best thing because there is no next best thing. I feel like mentally that's draining. Getting every certification there is under the book, taking everybody's trainings is really not good for the soul. It's just basically committing to yourself and deeply knowing your foundation that's already there and expanding upon that. So I think that there are so many cool trainings out there, but I choose them very wisely now. Like I'll do one or two conferences a year, or maybe like one conference and like one training a year, but it has to have a return on investment for me now. And it's because like I do have a good foundation. I've been doing this for a long time. I mentor other people, which does not make me an expert at all. I find that the people that are most successful keep a air of beginnerness, like a mindset of beginner, so that you always have room to learn something new. I'm always down to learn a new technique, a new treatment, whatever, but I know that I have to be confident in my foundation in order to excel and get over that hurdle of like having to be somebody else, because being yourself really is what is going to drive patients to you in aesthetics. It's not like being so cookie cutter and doing what everyone else is doing. To really stand out amongst your peers, you have to just be you. So I wanted to talk about like some signs that you can self-diagnose yourself with when you're truly undervaluing yourself. One is you're taking less pay than you're worth to avoid rocking the boat. Like I get it. Aesthetics is like very hard to get into. Lots of people want to only take people on that have experience. So maybe if you're new and just starting out, you take a job for less than what you were making at the hospital because you just really want a shot. That is not sticking true to what you know that you're worth. And I think that people going into aesthetics are like, man, I'll take a pay cut. I'll make less than I did when I was a nurse just to get a shot in, doing aesthetics. And I do not think that that serves anyone. It doesn't serve you as like an incentive to move on into something, and it doesn't serve us that are established in the industry because it really just cheapens what we're doing. And we bring value. Like your hospital experience brings value to your patients. If you're working in the emergency room and you know how to save somebody's life, that may come to be of importance when you're in the clinic doing, an IV drip or a treatment that causes anaphylaxis on somebody. Like your experience contributes to how much you should be paid. So I think that just like not trying to rock the boat or not trying to negotiate because you just want a shot is not serving you or anybody else. The second thing that comes up that you're undercutting yourself or undervaluing yourself is just allowing poor behavior from patients or employers for that matter because you don't want to be seen as difficult. I've been labeled difficult since the beginning of time. And, not to go on my feminist soapbox here, but difficult is sometimes just asking the questions that they don't want to answer. And I ask a lot of questions. If it doesn't make sense, I'm asking questions. And you should ask questions. Poor behavior from patients. Now, I've been there too. Like, I remember starting out taking the patients that are immediate red flags. Like, they come in and they're talking about other providers and they're saying what terrible experiences they had at other places. And because you're like starting to build your reputation and build your book, you take them on. And what ends up happening? We all know the answer to this. They end up being a nightmare. And so now when you step into a place where you can really appreciate where you've been and where you've come from, you can start interviewing your patients just as much as they are interviewing you. So you take on the patients that are the green lights, the ones that give you the green flags, that give you a good feeling. You guys are vibing together, rather than the ones that immediately you're like, no. I have no trouble now saying, like, I'm sorry, I just don't think that we're a good fit. I don't think that I can offer the treatments that you're seeking. And I'm happily refer them to somebody that I think could take them on or would have a better outcome if I sent them the other way. Feeling guilty about prices or creating boundaries. So feeling guilty about saying no in certain situations. Like, for instance, I used to feel if you feel bad about how much you have to charge somebody, they're not going to feel good about paying it, right? So we used to have a joke at my old place where, because I just want everyone to feel a certain way. So there'd be instances where I'd be like, oh, don't worry about it, just go. I got it. Well, if you do that enough times, right, then you're not making a living. You're giving it away for free. And although, like, all of us, I think, in the service industry has this air of like wanting to do things for people, which is great, energy is money. So, like, there's a certain energy connection to money. So you have to be okay with the pricing. Like, do you think that those prices are good for what you're delivering? If the answer is no, then maybe you look at your pricing. But if the answer is yes, and you're like, yes, it takes me a half hour to do the treatment, the product costs me this much. You have to be confident in your pricing so that you are able to communicate that to your patients for sure. And then creating boundaries. If and we're all guilty of this, especially if you're a nurse or an NP. We were kind of raised in where you are working when people tell you you're working. So it was really hard for me in the beginning of my career to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not available to come in. And unfortunately, like that really did affect my family life. Like my kid, I missed out on a lot of my kids, situations and events and things because I felt bad saying no. I felt like, the surgeon relied on me, the patients relied on me. I had to be there on a Saturday to, help somebody out. And I'm not saying never do that. I'm just saying that you have to be okay with saying no without guilt. So you say yes when it serves you and the other person, but you say no when it doesn't. Okay, so now some strategies that can help you stand in your worth and help you move forward from this place of, hey, am I really the person that I say I am? Because I think all of us in healthcare have this like imposter syndrome. So, one, tactical ways to check yourself. Track your outcomes and your patient satisfaction. I love to do this. Ask your patients to fill out a Google review. Do maybe interviews with your patients when they come back for follow-up. Hey, how was your service last time? How was your healing? What do you think of your treatment? Or if you're big enough and you can hire, there are companies that will send out patient satisfaction surveys to your patients and really take their feedback as constructive criticism. Know your revenue numbers. This is so, so important. And I cannot tell you how many times I might be mentoring somebody and talking to somebody and they don't know their business. So, and this is not just for business owners, this is for practice providers. So if you are working for a practice and you are seeing patients, you should be keeping track of how many patients you're seeing, what the treatments are, and keep track of your numbers. You should know what you're bringing to the table. And if you have an employer who's not transparent with finances, maybe that's a cue to have a conversation with them as to why, or like if it's actually a good fit for you. You want to get comfortable with professional conversations that are about money and boundaries. So you should be able to comfortably have these conversations that are difficult sometimes. And, some tricks for that can be that you start off the conversation with your boss or your employer and say, like, I need to have an uncomfortable conversation with you about money. And that kind of sets the tone or boundary for the conversation. Practice saying no with grace. So somebody told me once that no is a full sentence. I still struggle with this personally. I sometimes still feel like I have to give an explanation to why I can't, especially in like personal relationships, like, oh, I can't make that party because blah, blah, blah. No, sometimes no explanation is needed. I can't make the party. I'm so sad, but I hope you have a good time. That can carry on into your professional career and your professional conversations as a way of practicing a boundary. Like, hey, China, do you think you can work this Saturday? No, I'm sorry, I can't. And then keep it moving. Like, no need for long explanations or guilty feelings about it. So, the way that you can practice saying no with grace is instead of bringing it, if you maybe you're not comfortable bringing it to your employee's table or your employer table right away, start saying it to friends or family that like won't necessarily judge you as much as your employer might. Um, how to build a network of people who remind you of your value and not deliver it. So, this has been crucial. If you are surrounding yourself with people who do not think that you're valuable or do not cheerlead for you or talk highly of you when you're not around, those people must go. They are not worth your time. They are not worth your intention. They are not worth your knowledge. And keep it moving. Find your tribe. I think that this is so, so important to have a group of people that would talk highly of you in rooms that you're not in. This has been monumental for me. And I think that it's a little bit because I'm in my 40s and a little bit because I have some knowledge that I've been in this industry now for many years. You have to keep it moving. You cannot trouble yourself with people that have negative energy. There's a lot of that, unfortunately, in the beauty industry, period. Like, and by beauty industry, I mean cosmetology, hair, makeup, styling, aesthetics, plastic surgery. There's a lot of jealousy, although I don't understand why. There is so much to go around, and I always had this mentality that if you're doing well, I'm doing well. If everybody has great outcomes, my outcomes are better. My patients are more informed. Like there is room for everyone at the table. And I still come across this. It's it's not cool. There's like a lot of negative energy and jealousy out there, and oh no, I can't hang with that one because she's doing this treatment, or like, oh, I don't like that speaker because, they don't know what they're doing. No, like let's start changing the narrative here and start building each other up. This is part of the reason I became a trainer, is because I want to build people up so that outcomes out there are better, and then my patients are not fearful of the treatments that I provide, right? Listen, I work in a big practice. There are sometimes like the cattiness that occurs. It is hard, I know, to like move mentally past it and to not quote unquote get stuck in the weeds and of the drama, but you really have to, and it's a daily practice for me, really try to not take things personally and keep looking ahead. Even if that means like pivoting and changing your approach to certain things, like just keep moving forward. If you're dealing with somebody who has like an air of jealousy or the energy of like trying to take you down or sabotage, just completely erase and, set boundaries and keep yourself in a different lane and keep moving. You want to also, another strategy to like stand in your worth is you want to be able to raise your prices ethically and communicating value without apologizing. Our economy is constantly changing. Look at groceries. Eggs are not the same price as they were 5 years ago. Prices in aesthetics are not the same as they were 5 years ago. There is ebb and flows. So if you have to raise your prices, you give a graceful communication of that to your patients, explaining why. There's been an increase in costs, so we're going to have price increases for this much. A lot of times we as business owners like will try to take the hit off of the patients, but you're not going to keep your prices the same for 15, 20 years. And if you do that, and you're still, profitable, please give me the handbook on how to do that. But I think that, like I said before, we come from a service industry. It's hard for us to not like feel apologetic because we do want to give these services away. We want everybody to have the feelings that we offer them when we do these services. And of course, in a ideal world, if it could be free, I would give it away as free. So when is it time to walk away? Not every place, not every client, not every employer is going to deserve your talent. And I'm going to talk about this, and I'll probably get it wrong, but there are two different quotes that kind of brought this to light for me. One was like, if you look at the price of a water bottle, right? The price of a water bottle in an airport is $5. In a vending machine, maybe it's $2. At the discount store, it's $1. And, if you're at a rock concert, maybe it's $7. So the product itself is the same, but the value of that product is going to increase or decrease depending on where it is. So if you're not feeling valued, or if your price sticker is low, then maybe you just need to change environments where it will be higher, right? So that was the first thing that made me realize this. The second thing is the story of the Rolexes. Like a Rolex at a certain pawn shop that's being sold can be super cheap. But then if you get it at a vintage store, it might be like extraordinarily expensive. So it really just, you have to position yourself, and it won't happen until you solely believe it yourself. If you know what you bring to the table and you value that, then other people can start to value that as well. And so, with that being said, sometimes it's very hard, but you have to know when to pivot. You have to know when it's time to professionally tap out, because burning out will happen. And like, burning bridges are not cool, but sometimes it happens, unfortunately. But you want to still be, you know, cognizant of your own integrity. So sometimes losing that and losing yourself is not worth the like sticking around for someone else's benefit. And so like, these conversations are very hard. It was very hard for me to like, move places. I'm not the type of person that, likes to throw in the towel, but in business, even if you own your own business and you have partnerships, there comes a point in time where, two people or three are gonna not have the same vision. And I think that that's okay. Like, starting off with a vision and then like it evolves over time, it's totally fine to have the conversation and just be like, look, we're in a different place. I have an opportunity. That's totally okay. Difficult conversations to have, yes, but I think like a professional exit is way better than just making yourself miserable, because there comes a certain point in your tenure there, or in your place of work in this industry, where you just know like everything that you're doing is like your head hitting a brick wall. And when it becomes stressful for you and no longer easy to do the job that you are hired to do, then you should really take a good look at what's happening and start thinking that it's time to make a move. So, to recap on a few points, your worth is not up for negotiation. You define it, and that's that. No one else can define your worth, but you have to truly believe it. And that is probably the biggest thing in aesthetics. Why did we go into aesthetics in the first place, right? It's to help somebody feel on the outside as they do on the inside, and to give them confidence, and to give them, a motivator to put their face out into the world. So if you don't believe that for you, how are you going to give that to other people? And then my final takeaway is this: in aesthetics, just like in life, you're either leading your worth or letting someone else price it for you. So choose wisely. And so I just want to thank you guys for listening. I encourage you to share this episode to somebody who needs it if it resonated with you. On our next episode, we're going to be talking with Michelle, who's my SD bestie, and she is going to talk about all things skincare and what all the hype is on TikTok, and what you should avoid and what you should pay attention to. So I know that this episode was a little bit vulnerable, and it was a little bit, getting into the markup of deciding if, you're in the right group or in the right street or on the right path. And I hope that some of these pointers will help you navigate knowing your worth in aesthetics. So until next time, I'm trying to be your NP and beauty expert, and this is The Markup, a podcast. See you next time.